Robert Ross filled me in on the very early beginnings of the church, and I quote him. In the explosive years of American church growth in the 1950s, California Universalist Convention, which was renamed the Pacific Southwest District after the merger with the Unitarians, sponsored in 1953 a startup on the Balboa Peninsula, the Harbor Universalist Fellowship, which was led by the Reverend Douglas Frazier, our convention superintendent. Names of local people who had received Universalist mailings were obtained by Catherine Hoffman, who was one of the many Pasadena Universalists who had summer year-round homes in Newport Beach. It was soon renamed the Universalist Community Fellowship. Our congregation met first in the American Legion Hall and later at the Belvedere Bay Club. In the spring of 1953, a religious education program was started, and in November we called our first settled minister, the Reverend Frederick Ringy. He helped us grow, and his wife Bess served as our music director. We also received help from the Unitarian women in Santa Ana, whose struggling church had closed. The congregation then called the settled minister, the Reverend Charles Clare Blauvelt, who led us to move to Costa Mesa and build, with the loan from the Universalist General Convention, this church building, the last Universalist church constructed in the United States before the merger. It was designed by one of our members, James Webb, and its unconventional shape on a handsome hilltop site attracted much local attention. Our first meeting for worship here was on Sunday, March 6, 1960. Many brought their own folding chairs, and Pastor Blauvelt encouraged everyone to wear warm clothes as the heating was not yet installed. When my ex-husband and I first came to Costa Mesa in 1959, we attended the Episcopal Church according to tradition and habit. We discovered after a few years that we were not really believers. About that time, our children were being threatened by their playmates that they were going to end up in hell and damnation. My ex-husband had heard of the Unitarians, and so we decided to check it out. We found the church listed in the phone book and arrived all dressed up like proper churchgoers did on this day. Dr. Clare Blauvelt was preaching that day, and we found a group of interesting, friendly people who were open to less conventional ideas, and I remember being delighted and affirmed that the talk fitted with our thinking perfectly, and I never felt so comfortable in a church. We started coming regularly. The year must have been 1962 or 3. Dr. Blauvelt had intended to retire, but was persuaded by Pasadena friends to return to the ministry, even though his health was not good, and unfortunately he had to retire again and died soon after. Reverend Roger Walk followed and stayed with us for 8 years, from 1962 till 1970. During that time, the congregation faded away and his contract was not renewed. We needed some inspirational help at that point. The UUA allowed us to have a year's interim minister. At that time, a short-term minister was only available to start-up churches, and we were not that. We were very lucky to have Arthur Olson, who was a very dynamic person and whose help we were able to gather some of the people who had drifted away. This helped us to increase our pledges base and to be able to settle Robert Ross and family, Kathy, Jordan and Derek in 1972. During the interim, we had to find speakers for Sunday services. The space and facilities were quite different then. We shared with the Hilltop Nursery during the week, which was a co-op. We entered at the east end of the building over here, and inside were two offices, very small. Upstairs was a rickety balcony, which was used for the choir. We have come a long way since then, and I have loved this building with its lights, openness, and view, and will miss it a lot. Fortunately, we will take the people with us and the memories of those who are no longer here.